Well, here we are at Warwick Castle. This is the entrance of it, so I don't know what it's like inside just yet because I've just arrived, so there you go. We'll keep going. This is the inside of Warwick Castle. So here we are inside one of the rooms.
It's only actually an inch thick. This is cladding. Beneath these walls are the original castle walls. So to look at the windows there which have been put in, that's the back defensive wall of the castle with tiny arrow slits. And as you can see, the walls are 9 feet deep. So actually it is still a very strong part of the castle. Now, everything happened in the central hall. Animals were brought in here to sleep at night. There were trials here, executions here. The centre of castle life took place in the Great Hall. And around the walls you will see all the parts of our collection. Now none of this is made up, none of this is fabricated by Hollywood to make it look like battle. All these things have been used in anger and have probably been stuck in the ground for the Scottish person, first from the North, or when it was the English Civil War, the Parliamentarian or around there. They've all been used in anger. The black armour, you see, was all discovered in one room. When the garrison left here, at the end of the Civil War, the soldiers just went back to their villages and they left behind their armour. They took it off and piled it up in a corner. And so all this black armour is a little part of the collection, including the 50 suits of black armour that we have. Because you have to remember that it's the first time Civil War, that armour was cut down. Prior to that, knights on horseback and on the ground fought in suits of armour such as this, entirely clad head to foot. But your armour, his armour would not fit me, and madam, you would have had no armour whatsoever. It was all designed to move and articulate. And in fact, so much so that NASA, 350 years later, would have no better way of developing the shoulder joint than copying the fulcrum of the suit of armour, which allowed the knight to do that and to that 360-degree movement. So they actually copied that shoulder joint on the original space suits. Now, come over here and let's have a look at the English Civil War part of our display. Oh, madam, you'll return. I'm going to do a micro tour with these four lovely people. I have to point out they're not related in any way. They're stragglers. The four of them are stragglers. No relation. No. Right, come a bit closer, I don't have to shout then. Now then, the English Civil War was fought between the Parliament and the Brown was the leader of the garrison here at Warwick Castle. That is his actual suit of armour, the clothes in which he died. He was shot dead in Lichfield, which is about 8 miles up the road. He was shot by a sniper, a deaf and dumb sniper. Why was the sniper deaf and dumb? Because if you're deaf and dumb, it concentrates your eyesight. Even back then, they realised that the senses all focusing on one thing. If you look closely enough, you can see the shot that knocked him to his knees was there, because even though that's protected by his cuirass, the thump of that was enough to push him to the floor, and as he looked up in pained surprise, the sniper shot him straight through the right eye, and he was killed outright. Now, why did he end up in Lichfield? He ended up in Lichfield because he had done such a good job of defending this castle. Oliver Cromwell, and there was Oliver's death mask, promoted him to general, so he told him that to be back the last we heard of him. But he lived here at the castle. Now, Oliver Cromwell was the first man ever to say, "You paint me, warts and all." Have you ever heard that expression? That's what it means. Because prior to Oliver Cromwell's portraiture being done, portraits had always been very flattering of the king or the queen or the lord or the lady. They were made to look more attractive, slimmer, taller, better than they actually were. Cromwell didn't want anyone to be disappointed because he was more defensive and he also had a very pock-marked skin, as you can see. He wanted people not to be disappointed when they met him, and we know that because that's his actual death mask. You know the actor Robert Duvall? Don't you think he looks a bit like him? I always think that whenever I see him. That is Oliver's actual helmet. So that helmet has not been on the head of anyone since it came off Cromwell's head in about 1637. And this, they say, is Charles I's hat from the Battle of Naseby. Charles I wore no armour at that battle except a metal hat, and that's it. So we have both sides of the coin, their helmetry here, all collected by previous earls at the castle. Now, it's very important to remember that this is the first war fought by muskets. Prior to this, it had been... Yes, madam. Well, they're going to join on, are they? There we are. I won't go back. You can catch up later on. It won't be hard to do. It's very simple. Musketry was in place for the first time, and you could kill a man from 80 yards with a musket. You could wound a man from 100 yards. Beyond that, it would probably fall a little flat. So these things took about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes to reload. So it meant that pikemen still had to be used. So while the musketeers had fired and were reloading, the pikemen would come to the front to keep the enemy off. Otherwise, you'd lie low, wait for the shot, and then charge in. All very complex. That's warfare for a bit. Let's do some furniture. Come over here and see this magnificent piece. This is the Kenilworth buffet. Who's been to a wedding recently? Anyone? You weren't there on Friday, were you? I thought I saw you in the crowd. At a buffet at a wedding in the evening, you queue up with your paper plates and you get a sausage roll and a bit of cold curry chicken. And this is exactly the same principle for aristocrats. I don't know whether you know, but the Queen, Duke of Edinburgh, all the way down to your lowliest baron, do not have breakfast served to them. They serve themselves. The servants come and take silver dishes out of the cupboards at either end of this buffet. They put the dishes on the top containing eggs, bacon, devil kidneys, whatever it would be that the Queen would eat. And she would say, "Philip, do you want another sausage?" And she would help herself. It's an aristocratic thing. So this is just a breakfast bar. That's all it is. But can you imagine the size of the dining room we would need to fit in a breakfast bar of this stature. It was carved, here's the date on it, in 1851 at this end for the Grand Exhibition by some Warwickshire craftsmen called Cook and Sons. The Grand Exhibition was Queen Victoria's idea to show how great the empire was, and this was entered in the carving competition, and unbelievably it came third. We have no idea what the other two were, but there must have been something really special. Anyone from Warwickshire here? No? Our symbol of our county is the bear, and here he is. This is the bear of Warwickshire. These are the dancing bears. Right, to get a bit of music going and give these a bit of a twirl. Now this bear was killed in the woods by Guy of Warwick, a Saxon king, and he knocked the bear out by uprooting a tree, a ragged staff we call it, and knocking the bear on the snout. The bear is chained because he's subjugated, and also we say in Warwick that we are chained to the monarchy because we have such close links. What is this buffet about? Let's have a look at the carving on the top. This is Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen, riding to Kenilworth Castle to pay her respects to her would-be lover, Robert Dudley. Now, she was a queen that never bothered with men, but Dudley got under her skin. Have you ever managed to do that with a woman, sir? You get right under their skin and they can't resist themselves. Just one look at me tells me, sir, you might have done that in the past. Now, Dudley was very, very fond of the queen, and the queen was fond of him. But there was a problem. He was already married. And this is the carving of his wife, Amy Robsart, who was a very beautiful woman, begging the Queen, a la Dolly Parton, please don't take my man, because she didn't want the Queen to take her husband. Look at the expression on the Queen's face. It's carved beautifully. She is absolutely livid because this woman has come between her and the man. And then at the other end, you can see, here's the very man, throws his sword to the floor and says, my love, please, 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 I want to marry you, I want to marry you. Look at her expression, her hands in the air, her face is turned away. Talk to the hand, because the face ain't listening. That's exactly what she's saying. We had that experience before Oprah Winfrey or Trisha, let me tell you. Now, she never married him. Why? Because Amy met a very mysterious death. 2 weeks after this meeting, Amy Robsart was found dead at the foot of a flight of stairs with a broken neck in her house. Was she pushed, or did she fall? No one knows. But the fact is, he had a great alibi. He was down in London with the Queen at the time, so it never bothered him. She could have married him then, but she didn't, because even then she knew the value of public relations, and she knew the mess she would be in if she married a man whose wife had died in mysterious circumstances. So to her credit, she didn't. But she had to do something for him, so she promoted him to become the Earl of Leicester. And that's why we have R.L. on this Robert of Leicester. You can see it on the other side. So he's now an Earl, which is a top man. The way to work it out is a little mnemonic. Do men eat vegetarian beef? Dukes, marquises, earls, viscounts, barons. That's the best way to remember. Can you repeat that to me? Do men eat vegetarian beef? And you'll know that's the batting order of the royals. Queen, kings and queens are the tops, and then DMBEF. Now then, this piece is a marvellous thing, but it has its imperfections because it is now, obviously, 150 years old. The Queen used to have an exquisite hand coming out here. She had a little whip in it, and it was popular with the aristos in the morning to shake the hand and just wish her good luck. And of course, after being shaken 100,000 times over the years, it's completely snapped off, and we don't know where it is. It's just completely disappeared. So if anyone ever turns one up on the Antiques Roadshow, I've done this with a hand,
or
you know
eBay.
exactly where it came from. Let's go next door into the set down. Very good. She gave us that sword. The end of the room there is a marvellous sword, a presentation sword. It's never been cleaned. It still has the fingerprints on where she handed us the sword. So we have the fingerprints of the Queen, just in case there's ever a DNA cold case, we can help with that, I imagine. Now then, in this room, the crowned heads of Europe have dined. Queen Victoria has dined here. The Queen, obviously, William III, Edward IV, George V. All these people have dined in this room, so it is a remarkable place. You are walking in the footsteps of actual royalty. And you are, because even though there's another door down there, actually it's a fake door, and that's the only door. So it was done to make it look symmetrical. Do you read celebrity magazines, sir?
No. Leave that to them.
Leave it to the chicks, quite right. But if Tom Cruise walked in here now, you'd know exactly who he was. If Wayne Rooney walked in here, you'd know exactly who he was. If, shall we say, George Clooney walked in here now, madam, you'd know exactly who he was. You would, exactly. Because celebrity magazines publish pictures of these people, and portraiture is just that. It's our way of publicising the people in the pictures way before the chance to put them in magazines. I don't know whether you know, but posh spice
There's the Queen, Mom. Beautiful. They're supposed to be lions. This one has a lovely gold frame around it.
He was an author, he was a privateer, he was a diplomat, he was a spy master, he was a soldier, he was a sailor, he moved in royal circles. He was also a very, very good writer. He was known as a good writer. Ben Jonson, one of the famous authors of the sort of Elizabethan period, reckoned that he was the best author, a better author than he. Shakespeare wrote all those plays, 37 plays, 157 sonnets, from being a nothing son of a glove maker in Stratford-on-Avon. He'd never moved in any of these circles, but Fulk Greville had done everything that Shakespeare writes about in his plays in terms of royalty, in terms of plot, intrigue, warfare. He'd been there. On his deathbed, he wrote a rambling letter to his family, and one line of it said, "I am the master of Shakespeare." Now, why would he write that? Because at this time, Shakespeare was not even famous. Shakespeare was not even revered at all. Shakespeare died in 1647, and the fact of the matter is that he wrote that one line in his will. And we say here at Warwick that he wrote all of Shakespeare's words. Now, if you go to Stratford-on-Avon, they will spit so hard in your eye if you tell them that you'll be wiping God from your face for about a fortnight. So my advice is to keep it to yourself. So called, of course, because it's full of cedar panelling. That's all it is. Behind the panelling is the original stone walls of the castle. And this ceiling, untouched for 300 years, shows only the tiniest bit of work. I don't know if a man in your life has ever painted your ceiling, but after about 6 years they're usually redoing it as they fall in. Can you imagine that that has been there intact? Beautiful craftsmanship for 300 years and it's completely untouched. We have to strike a balance between repairing things and leaving things in their natural state, and also to show you things you can touch and show you things that you can't touch. So we generally put occasionally ropes, and these are very valuable Chippendale chairs over here. These are Chinese bowls. Any ideas what these four bowls would have contained? She must have towered over him. Anyway, it's just a cosmetic change. So finally, 10 years of republic we were, and then back come the monarchy. Restored to the throne with Charles II, and he's the merry monarch. And what does he do for us? He reopens the pubs, he reopens the theatres, and he reintroduces the celebration of Christmas. For the first time, he puts actresses on the stage. Prior to that, men had played all the female parts in plays, but now, for the first time, actresses were on. Why? Because he loved actresses. During his time on the throne, he was married to Catherine of Braganza, a beautiful woman. He had 24 mistresses that we know about, let alone anyone else that he might have had. 24. I mean, you might have had one in your time, so but 24. That's crazy, isn't it? Now, I love the way you just have it, just it's all right, love, he's only joking. Now, the fact is that we have portraits of lots of the mistresses in our next, in the next one room. Let's go next door anyway. And we celebrate him here because his reign is at the centre of our life in Warwick Castle. And I'll tell you for why. Now, he was never destined to be king. He was the second son. It was his brother Arthur who was going to be the king. and he was destined to be going to the church, maybe be the Archbishop of Canterbury. But he thought to himself, I like this life of quiet solitude, because nobody bothered him in his first 10 years. He was brought up by his mother and sisters. And that all changed when Arthur married this lady, Catherine of Aragon. And he was a page at the wedding. Did you see the wedding last Friday? The two page boys in the red coats? No one knows who they were, but 1 billion people watched them walk down the aisle. And that's what changed Henry forever. Because he walked down the aisle behind Catherine of Aragon and said to his best friend after that ceremony, I'm going to have a woman like this to marry when I'm old enough.
This is the church, the castle's church. Tapestries. Going down into the jail. I don't think you can see anything in here, so I have my camcorder light on, so hopefully we can see something. Otherwise, it's pretty dark. That's one of those torture things. I don't think you can see it here. Anyway, it's dark and cold, so wouldn't have liked to have been in jail here. There's another passage through here. Oh, looks like they were in here for some reason. Oh, it's a claustrophobic area if they were punished. This was this small area. Anyway, it's a jail there.
forces, temper your weapons, prepare for the great and decisive battle